You know how it is. You move into your first house, you dump everything in the garage, the years go by, and before you know it, it is a completely cluttered, disorganized mess. Having finally decided that enough was enough, it was time to come up with a plan to design a proper workshop. It's winter here in New England, and that means that all of my outdoor activities and projects are for the most part on hold until the spring, with the exception of heating the house. With all of this free time, I had the perfect idea. Let's turn what was a disorganized disaster of a garage into the dream shop that I'd always wanted. After a lot of thinking and pondering and more pondering, I broke this down into 4 stages. Stage 1, assess what you want. For me, this meant a partial wood shop and a partial auto shop. Stage 2, go through everything. You'd be amazed at what you find hidden in the crevices of your garage and drawers and cabinets and little areas that you completely forgot about. I think I found, I don't even know how many tools that I was missing or couldn't find, and probably at least 3 different 10mm sockets just buried in areas where they should not have been. In total, I think I ended up making something like 4 or 5 trips in the truck to the dump with stuff that just got pulled out of all these different areas. Stage 3, layout and execution. Stage 4, final adjustments.
All right, so I have spent the last 3 days taking everything off these walls to try to get them ready before I paint. And this has been like 4 years in the making. Like, this garage has served so many car projects, woodworking projects, like everything and anything that you can think of.
The first step after I finally finished going through all of my junk was to get a fresh coat of paint on the walls. But before I did that, I wanted to upgrade my lighting so that I could see what I was actually painting. After a bunch of searching online and a handful of Reddit reviews, I ended up going with this 10-pack of 8-foot LED light bars off of Amazon, and so far they've been great. I then spent a few days putting everything back in its temporary home until I can finish building the remaining furniture. Historically, I've always put all my long 8-foot pieces of lumber on the wall, but I never had a good spot for plywood, so I'd end up bringing it in off the truck and just leaning it up against a cabinet or a wall or something until I needed it, and it always ended up getting in my way. It was at this point that I realized before I started actually building all of my shop furniture, I needed to put something together where I could actually organize all the plywood I'd be bringing in. So I came up with this. My idea for a simple plywood storage corner off to the side and out of the way. It can fit up to 14 full sheets of plywood and 28 half sheets, plus a handful of offcuts that I don't want to climb up the ladder for. Now, with wood storage tackled, I had to come up with a better solution for dust collection. It was apparent that most systems were way overkill for what I needed. After a significant amount of research, I decided that the most important part of dust collection was to collect the fine dust and to keep it contained. So what I came up with was a 12-gallon DeWalt Stealth Quiet shop vac, 8 feet of PVC pipe, 4 90-degree elbows, and a 5-gallon bucket. And for me, it's done a phenomenal job. My biggest concern was fine particles more so than the big chunks, because I'm not doing a lot of stuff with big chunks. Like I said, I don't have a planer or any of that kind of stuff. And 99%, I'm assuming, of the dust gets trapped inside of this 5-gallon bucket. So suction's applied from the shop vac, pulled into the top of the cyclone, and comes down and into my blast gate, which opens up. I bought this little snap ring on Amazon for like 16 bucks and just attached it to the existing 5-gallon plastic bucket that I had from, I don't know, Advanced Auto Parts or Lowe's or whatever. And it came with this metal lid that is way more sturdy when suction's applied than the plastic lid that was on it before. It was a little more difficult to cut into, but it does a much better job at making this so much simpler to change out when it fills up. The eventual goal here is going to be to connect this Y pipe right here into my miter saw station that I'm going to build next, and this will just sit right on the end and feed all the way into that. And that is the Mega Table Saw Workbench. You've got these nifty little router drawers for 1/2-inch router bits, 1/4-inch router bits, and then just a bunch of drawers for random stuff. Now the drawers that were listed in the plans here that had links to Amazon, those links didn't work. They were discontinued or no longer sold, so I had to come up with something else. So I got these 2.5-inch DeWalt toolboxes from Home Depot. I think they were on clearance for like $13 or something like that, which was way better than the $26 or $30 they normally were. I had to extend this back maybe an inch or two, and same thing in the other direction. But overall, they fit perfectly. The same thing was true for the plugs on the ends. The links did not work from the plans. So I just found a few others on Amazon. I think these were like 10 bucks a piece, 12 bucks a piece, something like that. They weren't too bad. I will say that I love these ratcheting casters way more than, I think the ones in the plans were the spinning kind that had a like a gear that you would try and twist. These ratcheting ones work so much better. And you can stick a little screwdriver in the end if you want to help with ratcheting. But no, these have been great. And I just went with one that was a little bit more expensive for the end of the workbench because I wanted to make sure that I had USB-C in here for charging my phone and different stuff. I think this one was 30 bucks. All of these were a little bit different sizes than the ones in the plans, but you just cut a little bit bigger of a hole and it worked out fine. On this side, we have 3 blast gates. The first one goes directly to the table saw, and there's nothing else in between. The second one connects to a series of tubes and Y pipes that connect in the other blast gates, one on this side, one on the end, and one on the far side. And then finally, we have power. So this entire thing is powered by this little plug right here that I could have done a better job painting around. Right now, I just hook it up to an extension cord that hangs from my ceiling, and that does the job. And I just roll it up when I'm done, and so far it doesn't get in the way that much. Then just more drawers. I think the plans called for some kind of fancy little faceplate on this. I just threw some 3/4-inch pine around the end as a face frame and just use it as a place to store stuff. And this is my DeWalt tool storage drawer. And just somewhere to stick my impacts, drills, and whatever else is in here. Eventually, when I build the miter saw station, there's going to be a drop down on there where all of these impacts and drills can just hang from, because I really like the ease of that. But for now, this is where they go. And then just 4 more drawers. I still have more organizing to do, so there's not that much stuff in here right now. But in the near future, I'm sure these will be so full, I will once again not be able to find anything. But for now, there's nothing in them. Now for the workbench top, I wanted to do something a little bit different than the plans because my Cobalt table saw sits at 14 inches high, not 13 and some change like I think the DeWalt 10-inch does. So I ended up going with 3 sheets of 3/4 ply so that this would sit at an even 14 inches with the top of the table saw. If anything, I think the front of this is actually, I don't know, a 1/16 of an inch lower than the top of the saw, just so that things can slide on nice and easily. The first 2 sheets of 3/4 are like some $65 Pro Choice plywood from Lowe's, and I went with the $85 sheet of maple, also from Lowe's, on the very top. And I ended up covering the entire thing in probably 5 or 6 coats of shellac, which came out great. Like, whenever I spill anything on here or put anything wet, it wipes right off now. I debated a while between polyurethane and shellac and I think Odie's oil too. It's worked out great. I'll probably use it a lot more in future projects for surfaces like this. Now you'll probably notice that I don't have the right side table to the right of the table saw. I did not build that because I have a cheap $220 Cobalt table saw, and the problem with this is that it doesn't have a rack and pinion fence, so that if I wanted to put a bench here, a table here, then it would have hit this fence when the fence moved over. I tried taking this off because I thought, maybe it'll work. It puts this fence completely out of square. So when I eventually get a bigger table saw like the DeWalt 10-inch or the Skill Saw 10-inch, I will build that other side. And that wraps up everything that I have built currently. Next time I'm going to be building my miter saw station on the back wall and hooking it up to my dust collection system. So like and subscribe and tune in for next time.